Welcome back. We are now hearing financial advisors telling their clients to hold 40% of their portfolio in crypto. If that's not towards the top of the market, I don't know what is, but I do believe that altcoin season is upon us. And in today's video, we're going to be exploring what is going on in the traditional financial world, how this is melding or merging with the crypto ecosystem. And even though I believe that we are at or very close to the top of the market, there is still opportunity to make money in this market and in the altcoin sector. And so in today's video, we're going to talk about Ethereum. We're going to talk about Solana, Internet Computer, and potentially Solana flipping Internet Computer flipping Solana and then flipping Bitcoin. Or maybe we'll see Solana flip Bitcoin first and then Internet Computer flip Solana. Anyway, we're going to be talking about all of that in today's video. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. That way you never miss a new video. We upload every single day to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. Also, give the video a thumbs up. And let's start right here with time for 10 to 40% of your portfolio in crypto, according to financial advisor Rick Edelman. So he issued a call to hold anywhere from 10% to 40% of an investor's portfolio in cryptos. He heads the Digital Asset Council of Financial Advisors. And he's been saying for some time the traditional 60-40, which is like stocks and treasuries and stuff like that, or port of stocks and bonds is outdated because people are living too long for it to work. Now he says crypto like Bitcoin have uncorrelated returns, also need to factor to an even higher extent in portfolios for the future alongside much higher equity holdings later in life. Now here's the deal. I don't disagree with what he's saying, right? I do think that we're seeing more and more people putting more and more of a percentage of their portfolio into crypto, especially because, the younger generation, it's not that they believe, they know that the traditional financial system is rigged. And so they don't want to be a part of that. And so they see a little bit more freedom or financial freedom in crypto. Now, some of that is changing with Wall Street getting into the game. And as we've been explaining, guys, like this cycle is very different than the previous cycles. That is true. But at the same time, it's the same as previous cycles. And now that we're above the $100,000 range yet again, the Bitcoin price is holding range, but it needs fresh demand to break higher. And, this is part of the reason that I keep saying that we're towards the top of the market. First of all, we're seeing signals like this, like put 40% of your portfolio in crypto. We're seeing all these Bitcoin treasury companies buying up crypto. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. And the bottom line is there's so much risk building up, and there's people in the market and there's sentiment in the market that doesn't see the risk. And so when we understand that there is risk, right? I mean, people are saying, Cryptoviser, you're an idiot. We're not at the top of the market. We're not going down. Well, I'm going to show you some charts in a few minutes. But before we go there, just look at the price. The price there's so much resistance at the $110,000 level. Now, some people are saying this is just a psychological barrier that's going to be broken. But at the same time, we've had hundreds of billions of dollars in cash entering the system and buying crypto for the last, few years. And we've seen minimal, real major price moves because of this, right? Meanwhile, we're seeing Coinbase Global at all-time record highs, MicroStrategy approaching all-time record highs, but a lot of resistance here, right? We saw Circle IPO at $30 and went all the way up to $300, and it's already come down almost 50% when I'm recording this video. MicroStrategy, a lot of resistance here. They keep buying more and more Bitcoin with debt, and meanwhile, the price of crypto is barely moving. And so they have to continue to do this at ever increasing rates, and if they slow down for any amount of time or they can't get the debt or they don't pay the dividends on the debt instruments. I mean, these are all risks that are very likely to occur. And a lot of people are not taking these into account. They're saying, but Cryptoviser, the Federal Reserve has to cut rates. It's like, no, they don't. And this goes into what we've been talking about with the timeline. Trump says he'll expect the next Federal Reserve chairman to cut rates. And I would agree. I mean, I even think that Federal Reserve Chairman Powell wants to cut rates. But I don't think that he can at this point because we are so close to the end of his term as chairman. And so the narrative needs to be pushed a little bit. And so the end of Federal Reserve Chairman Powell's term as chairman, not as a board member in the Federal Reserve, it ends in May. And so leading up to May, I would imagine he's either going to cut extensively or he's not going to do anything. I think he's more likely to not do much or do anything until the new chairman comes in, and then the new chairman can cut rates significantly. And he won't, Chairman Powell will say, well, we beat inflation, even though people are not going to like that towards the end, or maybe he'll start just cutting slowly towards the end. But the bottom line is the main target date is for the new chairman, because no matter what Powell does over the course of the next few months until his chairmanship ends, the next Federal Reserve chairman is going to do even more. So even if Powell cuts by 2 percentage points, right, or brings us down to 2% interest rates, the next Federal Reserve chairman is bringing us to zero. It's going to happen. And so that is when I think the markets are going to start moving much higher, which puts us into next year, into 2026, which means from now until 2026, we have to have a downward pressure in the market, right? And so what is the downward pressure going to come from? Well, people still think the Federal Reserve is going to cut rates, even though they've made it extensively clear they have no plans on doing it yet. And we know from the Federal Reserve that they don't do things unless they let us know in advance that they're going to do it by months. Sometimes they'll say, next meeting, we're going to start thinking about cutting rates. And then the following meeting, they'll say, now that we thought about cutting rates, we're thinking about implementing cutting rates. And then the following meeting, they're going to say, okay, we're cutting rates. So it would take 3 months to actually know. And we're seeing no indication of that so far. And so the market is at this level, they're waiting for the Federal Reserve to cut. But if the Federal Reserve doesn't cut, all of this momentum is going to just straight down. That's in my view. And that will set up the new Federal Reserve chairman to be the hero, and the president to be the hero for the entire economy, right? That's literally what's going to happen. What happened during the pandemic? They shut everything down. Everybody was pissed about that. But then they printed all this money and just started handing it out, and everybody was happy, right? So that's kind of the way that I kind of view what's coming. And by the way, a lot of people also think that these things are baked in, right? This came at the end of June. Banking Committee Chairman set September goal for the market structure bill. So after passing the Genius Stablecoin Act, the Republican leadership of the Senate Banking Committee has turned its sights to the digital asset market structure. This is really going to put crypto in the SEC bucket, the CFTC bucket. What is a security? What is not a security? What are cryptos? What are meme coins? All of this kind of stuff. And I don't think that is going to happen this year, right? I mean, and by the way, this is putting it towards September. So the market, even if you think it's going to happen this year and the market thinks it's going to happen, the market is going to price that in through September. And then when they announce, okay, we're going to pass this market structure bill, maybe the market will pump, and that could put us at the top of the market towards November, right? If this happens at the end of September and then through October into early November, the market pumps, that could put us into the all-time record high. But what if this doesn't happen, right? What if this doesn't get passed this year? How is the market going to react to that? Again, same kind of thing with the Federal Reserve, right? If they set this up, to September, and then it doesn't pass in September, they say, we're going to work on it. We'll get it done next year. Boom. Now they're putting it into 2026. So that would put the market structure bill in 2026. That would put Federal Reserve chairman in 2026. And that kind of goes in line with the thesis and the cycle of where we are at in the cycle, where we've had all this momentum and everybody expects these things are going to happen 100%. But the likelihood that they happen, all of them, in the order that we expect them to happen is very unlikely. And that's where I think we are at the top of the market, at least the local top. This user on X said, can anyone explain to me why companies are buying billions of dollars of Bitcoin every week and the price is virtually unchanged over the last 6 months? Explain it to me like I'm 5. Well, when they're buying and the price is barely moving, even if the price is moving, if they're buying, that means somebody is selling. And this brings us into the analysis part of the video and the rotation into the altcoin season, because I believe that altcoin season is upon us. And this is going to lead us to the conversation about Solana flipping Bitcoin and then Internet Computer flipping Solana, which therefore means potentially flipping Bitcoin. A lot of people don't think that we're going to see any flippenings happening, but we haven't really even seen any flippenings this cycle yet so far. But again, if we're at the end of the cycle and people are asking the question, wait, and by the way, this is how you know we're at the end of the cycle. This is the rug pull, right? People don't know that they're in a rug pull until the rug is pulled. Everybody has been anticipating, oh, Wall Street's going to come. Wall Street's going to come. No, they're here. They have been here. They've been buying billions and hundreds of billions of dollars in Bitcoin in the last couple of years. And people are like, the price is going to go to 200,000. It's like, why? It hasn't gone there yet. And people don't even understand, wait, how come the price isn't moving when they keep buying billions and billions? Well, this user said, somebody else is selling it. I explained it to like you were too. It's also the explanation if you were a genius. The price isn't moving because somebody's selling. Somebody bought at $1,000. Somebody bought at $100. And now you're at $100,000. They made 1,000x, right? They're selling. They're selling. And we know that they're selling, but the MicroStrategy bros and the Bitcoin Treasury bros and the Bitcoin maximalists, they're like, no, like they're coming. They're here. They've already been here. And if you miss that, well, you're going to miss this cycle as well, because they will slow down at some point and potentially even reverse. And this brings us to this, an altcoin season. This user, Waka Flocka flame-linked base drop, is raising eyebrows. Coinbase is destroying retail crypto, according to Framework Ventures co-founder. And this kind of goes in line with what I've been talking about here, which a lot of people are also saying, but Cryptoviser, how can we be at the top of the market when retail hasn't even shown up into the game? And I'm like, first of all, retail is in the game, right? Did you miss meme coin season in the beginning of 2025? People are like, no, that was just the beginning. Like, no, that was retail. That was literally retail. I mean, the guy who was doing the Argentina meme coin said that they extracted $100 million of value out of that coin within the first few days. Where do you think that money was coming from? It was coming from you, not from Wall Street. That's absurd. And so retail is already here. And even if they're not here, retail is not going to outpace the buying pressure coming from Wall Street and MicroStrategy and all of that. But even with all of that, the price is barely moving. And so what is the next thing that's going to push the market up? I mean, we showed you at the beginning of this video, Bitcoin price is holding, but it needs fresh demand. And that is absolutely true. But what is more demand than Wall Street? What is more demand than Wall Street and retail? I mean, it's a great question. Anyway, so this venture capitalist believes that Coinbase's just coin it strategy is a bad idea. Coinbase executives called Base Drop, which is powered by Waka Flocka Flames meme coin, the new creator economy. He described Base Drop as an on-chain record label where value for songs accrue back to Flocka coin. Framework Ventures co-founder Vance Spencer hit back with a takedown, arguing that Coinbase's content coin push is destroying broad swaths of the crypto industry. The idea that everything should have a token harms retail because said retail buyers are losing money on low caps and memes and will be alienated from crypto as a result, he argued. He also took aim at Coinbase's decision around its wallet, likening it to Farcaster and saying it's not what anyone wants or needs. He said, the just coin it ethos is what is destroying broad swaths of the industry and burning retail badly to the point where they will never re-engage with crypto. And guys, I've talked about this on the channel, specifically with the meme coin situation. He said, instead of focusing on a few coins that have legitimate PMF, I don't know what that means, and generate real business metrics, people like this Coinbase executive are on trip where consumer is the future of crypto, and there is no invalidation to this thesis. This is why Coinbase Wallet is basically just Farcaster. Again, not what anyone wants or needs. My advice to Coinbase leadership is to drastically simplify your offering to retail around core assets and messaging. Stop euthanizing retail. Thank you. Now, guys, I can't fully disagree with this. I don't want to call out Coinbase specifically because it's all of the exchanges are doing this, but this is 100% true. Everyone keeps saying, but Cryptoviser, retail hasn't joined the party yet. Retail hasn't joined the party. And I'm like, if you put a large percentage of your portfolio, maybe 40 to 60%, like we were just talking about at the beginning of this video, you put it into crypto in the previous cycle, and then FTX or Celsius or Voyager or Terra Luna or BlockFi or Genesis took your money and traded it away. And it took you 3 years and all your information to be made public and how much money you had and all of that to get your money back. Just in time for the new cycle, guys, just in time for the new cycle. Take all that money that you lost and took you years to recover and go just put it right back into the casino. Just go do that. And we know people are doing this because, again, the meme coin fiasco, look at Solana, revenue dropped in 1 month, 97% from the peak of the meme season to the bottom of the meme season. And so the only people who actually made money during the meme coin season, which I warned my viewers about many years ago, is the issuers. And so, yeah, I agree. People are expecting retail, but retail was burned by the largest crypto exchange scam in history. I mean, quite literally. And so a lot of people didn't see it, and a lot of people don't see it here. I don't necessarily think that they shouldn't have these platforms for, meme coins and, putting things on, but I agree that the majority of people don't understand how these things operate. I mean, we had Haktua coin last year, which was like, oh my God, everybody needs to go and get Haktua coin. I'm like, for what? Oh, it's going to change the world. It's like, if you really believe Haktua coin is going to change the world, then you're buying it. I mean, like what, how do you, there's nothing you can say or do. I mean, it is what it is, right? People should be able to spend their money how they want to spend their money, but there's a lot of people with good intentions that, they want to support their favorite creator or something like that, or they want to, get in on the next big thing, and they think that money's going to come easy and being a billionaire is just going to, happen overnight. It's not really how it works. And so what is the solution for that? I mean, I don't know what the solution is. I'm just kind of like laying it out for you guys. But it is a very interesting topic because, again, like, where are we in the cycle? I posted this on my YouTube community tab. If you haven't already checked it out, click on my logo down below and then just click on the posts section on my YouTube page. And while you're there, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give the video a free thumbs up. We upload every single day on this channel to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. Nothing I say is financial advice, just my opinions and analysis. So I posted this, which is a chart of the Bitcoin halving chart. I'm going to show you in a second. And I said, what do you see in these circles, right? So this circle was the previous cycle's high, and this is where we are now. Now let's pull this up a little bit larger so you can see it. And you can see right here, this is days from the halving, the black bottom line. That's where we are right now. This blue bottom line is where we were in the previous cycle, and then the previous cycle before that, and previous cycle before that, in a scaled up version of pricing. Anyway, in the previous cycle, right, we had a top at the beginning of the year, about 300 days into the cycle, and then we had a double. I mean, it was like more like a quadruple top, but it was basically a double top formation at about the 540-day time frame, which also lines up with the previous cycle around the 540-day timeline as well, being the top of the market. And so a lot of people look at this chart and they say, but Cryptoviser, this cycle is different. Either we have an extended cycle, or we haven't seen retail enter the game yet, or Wall Street hasn't entered the game, and all of that is just nonsense, right? I mean, or I've also seen, the 4-year cycle is done, Cryptoviser. We're never going to see the 4-year cycle again. I'm like, based on what I'm seeing, we're actually very in line with the 4-year cycle and on time in the 4-year cycle, and the cycle's about to be effectively topped out. And so what you can see here is at the beginning of the year or earlier. And by the way, the tops are happening basically earlier. Everything's happening earlier now because, number one, you have to remember, people are thinking in the calendar year. They're not thinking when the Bitcoin halving occurred. The Bitcoin halving occurred in April of last year. In the previous cycle, it happened in May. In the cycle before that, it happened in June. So we're already a month behind at least. And so if you think the last altcoin season started peaking out in August and September, early September of 2021, we are now entering the 1 month before that. 1 month before August and September is July and maybe August. And so that puts us in line with alt season. But it also puts us in line with the top of Bitcoin coming up very soon if we're not already there. Typically, these major shoot ups in Bitcoin, at least in the previous cycles, in the 2017 cycle, the shoot up in Bitcoin, you have to remember there were no altcoins. There were like 4 altcoins. And then there was a lot of forks of Bitcoin. Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Diamond, everything Bitcoin was forking. And so when those forked and they were created, it created a lot of like fake new value in the ecosystem, and people started selling those coins off. And as those drained, people put it right back into Bitcoin because Bitcoin was the only thing that they knew. And so that's where we saw the major pump in Bitcoin towards the end of the cycle. In the last cycle, Bitcoin really only went from about $10,000 to about $70,000, which is really only a 7x. From the low, it was about a 3,000 to 70,000. So that's like a 20x or 30x, which is much better. But where the price was, for the most part, was in the $10,000 range. And so we went from $15,000 cycle low in this cycle, and we're already at over 100,000. We're already at that 7 or 8x, which is basically the same thing that we saw in the previous cycle. And if we look at just from the days from the halving, you can see that we had a double top at the beginning, end of 2024 into 2025, and now we're at those levels again. And as I've explained on the Bitcoin charts, there is no support above the $110,000 level. And no matter what anybody tells you about, but they're going to be coming, MicroStrategy keeps buying. Yeah, but they're doing a lot of private transactions that don't hit the open market, that don't affect the price of the open market. And at the end of the day, people are selling. And so again, double top, very clear. And we're right back there. And so people will say, but Cryptoviser, we're higher than the previous all-time high. And it's like, well, if you want to take that risk, take that risk. But in my view, we're going to see a rotation. And the rotation is going to be occurring in altcoins. And that brings us to the second part of the video, which is all about alt season. And don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up and also hit the subscribe button. That way you never miss a new video. We talk about crypto, blockchain, and investing every single day of the year. Thumbs up are free. Crypto is not. Let's continue on. So Ethereum charts are signaling alt season as analysts predict a $10,000 Ethereum price top. Now, we're going to talk about the Ethereum price top in just a minute, but technical analysis using the Wyckoff method points to a potential Ethereum price breakout to the $3,200 mark. Ethereum is done with testing on Wyckoff reaccumulation schematic, and a big rally is coming, according to an X post from an analyst, doesn't even name the analyst, interesting, fellow Force Global, shared similar bullish outlook for Ethereum, pointing out that Ethereum was looking to shoot to all-time highs this cycle. An accompanying chart showed an Elliott wave analysis projecting a possible breakout to $9,400, saying Ethereum is still looking to shoot for all-time highs this cycle and should end up around 9 to 10,000, give or take. Now, here's the deal. I do think that we are rotating into alt season, but I also am worried that people are too bullish. Now, there's a lot of bearishness in alts, and especially in Ethereum, mostly from the coins that have already pumped, okay? Like I keep hearing over and over and over, it's getting annoying. Cryptoviser, the altcoins haven't pumped. My altcoins are down 90%. It's like 90% from the highs that you should have sold at, right? Just because you didn't sell doesn't mean we weren't in a bull market. But if you really do look, Solana has already pumped, XRP has already pumped, Hyperliquid has already pumped, SUI has already pumped. And yes, there may be a parabolic move to the upside. But if you think that you're going to outsell the billionaires, no. They're going to sell way before you can sell. And this is why, again, previous cycles, there were less people involved. Wall Street wasn't involved. The banks weren't involved. Hedge funds weren't involved. They're involved now. And so they're going to win, and they don't want you to win. Okay, that's the easiest way to put it. Look at the stock market. And so the idea that Ethereum is just easily going to hit all-time highs and just boom, we're going to go to $10,000. Remember, if everybody thinks we're going to go to $10,000, we're not going to go to $10,000 because the smart money is going to sell before then. So you'll say, okay, I'll sell at 9,000. I'll hit it right before, right? Well, they're going to sell at 7,000. You're going to say, no, they're never going to sell at 7,000 because we're going to go to 10,000. How do you know that? You don't know that, and they don't know that. They are taking the reward versus the more risk. Now, smart money will say, good, they made money. Dumb money will say, but Cryptoviser, they're going to miss out on all the extra gains they had. They've been saying that about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin can't even crack 110K. And by the way, when it does, people are going to say, Cryptoviser, you were wrong. You see, we went above 110K. It's like, I never said we weren't going higher. But how long and how sustained are we going to be able to keep those highs? That's the question. Because if you can't sustain the highs, you drop substantially. And I think that the charts in the market show that. Meanwhile, we're now seeing, right, a lot of companies moving into Ethereum, right? We're seeing the rotation. We're seeing companies completely abandoning their Bitcoin operations like Bit Digital, winding down Bitcoin mining operations, doubling down on Ethereum, and also raising money to buy more Ethereum and moving. They're going to this Ethereum staking play, which I think is really smart because they're preparing for the bear market. Because in a bear market, Bitcoin mining companies do not make money. In fact, they collapse. But a lot of them have moved to AI. They've pivoted to AI so they could still make money. And potentially in a crypto bear market, we'll see a AI bull market. And so the Bitcoin mining companies potentially are still going to be fine. But there's a lot of companies that didn't do the pivot to AI. Bit Digital may have been one of them. And if they didn't, well, now that we're at the end of the cycle, they know they have to do something before the bear market. And so maybe converting to Ethereum before an alt season. And also, at least making some percentage in operating costs by holding Ethereum. It seems like a really smart play. But keep in mind, Consensus CEO is warning against leverage in crypto treasury firms and backs Ethereum and stablecoins. And this is one of the risks that I've been calling out on this channel. A lot of people don't seem to be taking the risk seriously on these companies like MicroStrategy, taking out all of this debt to buy Bitcoin. During a recent interview with Bloomberg, Consensus CEO Joseph Lubin cautioned against excessive leverage in crypto treasury companies, warning that unchecked risk could lead to serious consequences. He said it could get really ugly if you don't maintain prudent risk levels. Interesting. Anyway, he highlighted SharpLink, Consensus's newly launched Ethereum treasury vehicle, noting that it currently operates without leverage. They just bought spot with the money that they had. He didn't rule out future leverage, but emphasized cautious approach, in my view, especially now that we are at the end of the Bitcoin cycle. And so it's going to be really interesting. He attributed the stagnation of basically the market not really moving to macroeconomic and market-specific factors, but also predicted a strong future demand. He said, we're going to see an amazing amount of accumulation in Ethereum and Bitcoin, adding that these assets could soon rival traditional reserve currencies as high-powered money. But I also do agree with this, but people say, but Cryptoviser, you're so bearish on crypto. Yeah, and the short term, a lot of these things people think are going to happen overnight, like a light switch. Just one day you're going to wake up and everybody's going to be using Bitcoin and Ethereum and crypto, and that's just not the way that it operates. It takes a long, long time for a lot of this to happen, right? A lot longer than most people think, especially the newbies in the crypto space. Anyway, you can see that they have 188,000 Bitcoin. This is how much Bitcoin they have. And if we multiply that by about $2,500, about almost $500 million in just Ethereum holdings. And you can see their market cap is about 600 million. So they're much closer to par than what we see with like MicroStrategy. But keep in mind, that is a risk also, having the stock price be larger or higher than the actual value of the crypto. Now you can say, well, the crypto price will go up and that will bring it in par. Not necessarily, because if the crypto price goes up, what do you think is going to happen to the market cap? The market cap's going to probably go up as well. So there'll still be a disconnect. And there's going to be a lot of players on Wall Street that are going to try to squeeze that down so that there is no premium, there is no discount to the NAV. A lot of people don't fully understand that either, and they're investing in these products. Meanwhile, we're now hearing Solana treasury company called Upexi tumble 60% after 43 million shares hit the market. Now, as we talked about, right, I think that we're in alt season already. People may not realize it, but we are there. Because remember what I always say, the smart money is going to take the exit liquidity. You are some of the exit liquidity, but it's also Wall Street. And if you're holding one of these coins, like for instance, SUI, right? This is the Raoul Pal coin of this cycle, right? It's the Terra Luna of this cycle. If Wall Street does a SUI ETF, who do you think is going to be selling the SUI to them? You think it's just going to be you selling your 15 SUI over? No, it's going to be Raoul Pal. He is going to take that exit liquidity, 100%. 100%. I don't even think that he would disagree with that because he is a trader, right? He's a trader in the markets. And so why wouldn't he take that exit liquidity? If you know that hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars is coming in from Wall Street and you have the potential to capture some of that upside by selling what they're buying, they're going to do it. And people who say, but Cryptoviser, there's no way they're going to sell. You can see it in the price action. They are definitely 100% selling. Period. People argue that. But meanwhile, there are companies that are buying. And again, in the red, which we have not even seen yet, right? We went from 110,000 down to 98,000 and people said, yep, that was capitulation. That was the dip. I'm like, that wasn't even a dip. That was just like a daily move in the price. A dip is going to be like 70,000, 60,000, 50,000, 40,000. When people are really freaking out, that is capitulation. And we haven't seen that yet. But in those red moments, we have an opportunity to not only get discounts on already discounted cryptos and stocks, but we have an opportunity to make entries into positions like companies like this, like companies like SharpLink, MicroStrategy, that may now be trading at a premium, but in a red market may be trading at a discount, significant discount. So if you're bullish on the crypto, generally speaking, in those dips, those major capitulation events, these are the opportunities that you can make money on both ends, downward move and the upward move. Anyway, so Upexi had insider sales of 43 million shares, right, hitting the market, which shouldn't surprise anybody. Upexi shares fell approximately 60% as the U.S. market opened this past week after investors registered 44 million shares for resale, stock equivalent to the company's initial float in April, intended to fund Solana treasury plans. The prospectus filed Monday shows that buyers now want to offload 37 million common shares plus about 8 million shares tied to pre-funded warrants. The filing notes that Upexi will collect just $7,900 if holders exercise the warrants and nothing from the share sales. They said, we're not selling any shares of common stock in this offering, and we will not receive any proceeds from the sale of the selling stockholders. Okay, I don't know what that even means. But anyway, the firm is valued, they said, at over $375 million. The looming supply shock sent the bid under $4 at the open, right? So they're saying they're going to buy more coins with this or whatever. But the idea here is like to keep in mind how much coin they actually have. So Upexi holds 375,000 shares. Is that accurate? I think it said it in here. It doesn't say. Okay, it says its holdings reach this. So that says that, and this one is newer. So we're going to go with this. So 735,000 Solana, and Solana's price is about $125. So that's about $92 million market cap, and this is their, or I should say, holdings, $92 million. And their current market cap is $98 million. Now you have to keep in mind, this does not include the shares that they're going to be issuing. So if they're going to be issuing how many shares did it say? 45 million. So 45 million shares, and we multiply that by 260, right? Times 260. It's about $117 million, right? So that's more than the market cap is right now. So basically, it's a dilution of about 50%, approximately. And so that obviously is not great for an investor, but this could be an opportunity, right? Because the Solana price hasn't moved. It's just the stock. And maybe they're going to buy more Solana, which will push the market cap higher as well. But again, it's very close to par with where the stock is. But because it came down 40%, it was at $15 in April. Oh, that was at the initial announcement. But again, you can see that this is a bull market. It went up 5x just on the announcement that they were going to be making a Solana treasury company, literally at all-time record highs. And so a lot of companies are like this, but here's the deal. This kind of institutional demand for Solana may push Solana much, much higher, much, much higher. This, we're going to get to that in a second. This is another Upexi. Upexi announces the intent to list SEC-registered shares on chain via super states opening bell. So we're hearing a lot about new companies tokenizing stocks and putting them on chain. I think Gemini is doing this overseas. Kraken is doing that in the U.S. But meanwhile, Solana is very, very close, very, very close to its all-time highs. I mean, we're down 50%. But with all of this institutional demand outside of Bitcoin, and especially if the Bitcoin treasury companies go through, a winter, right, a crypto winter, what is this going to do, right? I think that once we start to see the downward move in the price of Bitcoin and in these Bitcoin treasury companies, it's going to be a spiral because people are just going to get fearful. They're going to start selling their shares of MicroStrategy. That's going to push the premium to the NAV down. That's going to cause a lot more fear in a lot of the other companies pushing their MNAV down. This may push the price of Bitcoin further down. We may see some liquidations. The fear, I think, is just going to spiral. While that spiral is going on, there's going to be a lot of money to be made in the other assets here. And so that's where I think a lot of the money is going to flow. The smart money is going to flow out of those coins that either have already pumped or are in that Bitcoin category. And they're going to start rotating into some of these other assets. And this is where I see the potential that while Bitcoin is draining, just from the fear alone, the potential that Solana can really move up. And I'm not saying it's going to happen in the next year or two, maybe over the next 5-10 years. And there's a potential that we will see Solana, challenging Ethereum's number 2 spot, and then potentially even for a short period of time, flipping Bitcoin. Because if Bitcoin comes down, let's say by half, that's about $1 trillion, and Solana goes up by 10x, we're basically there. And that brings up, the question about Internet Computer Protocol. This user on X said Solana has more token supply than Internet Computer. In 2021, Solana went from $3 to $228 in 8 months. We're early. Not only did it do that in 2021, because you can't really count 2021 because Solana was being pumped by all the billionaires. But even if you just look at this cycle, Solana went from $8 to $260. And that was amidst the rest of the market not doing anything. You could see here, we went to $8 after the FTX collapse, all the way to $260 double top at the beginning of the year. I mean, that is pretty unbelievable. But yeah, look at this. The total supply is 604 million Solana. Circulating is 534 million. So 534. Let's go down to Internet Computer. And the reason I'm bringing up Internet Computer is, yes, because we talk about it a lot, but 2, because the technological capabilities of Internet Computer, 534 million ICP. Now, granted, Internet Computer does not have an upper limit. That's why these numbers are exactly the same. But they do also have a burn mechanism there. We're not going to get into all that on today's video, but definitely watch my other videos on this channel. Hit subscribe, that way you don't miss them. Just type in the Cryptoviser ICP, and you can see all those videos on Internet Computer Protocol. But yeah, this is a very interesting question, because when we think about the technologies and the capabilities of these different chains, Solana and Internet Computer are now the fastest chains on the planet, bar none. Way faster than any other blockchain out here, period. End of discussion, period. No matter what any of them say they can do. There's maybe a caveat with Polygon, but there's not the on-chain metrics that we're seeing with Internet Computer Protocol and also Solana. Now, Solana's transaction bandwidth and throughput fluctuates on a regular basis. Clearly, so does Internet Computer, but we're seeing Internet Computer now achieving much higher rates of transactions per second for their bandwidth. A lot of this, I believe, is because of their AI capabilities that they're rolling out on chain. But the bottom line here is, why is there's such a disconnect between the valuation of Internet Computer Protocol and Solana? And so this idea that if Solana can flip Bitcoin, even for a few minutes, the idea that Internet Computer will not be able to do this if they stay on the track of technology and technological breakthroughs that they've seen, hosting apps on chain, deploying apps through the use of artificial intelligence. There's going to be a lot more that we're going to be seeing here, right? Using compute on chain. This is unbelievable. We know that the Musks are at least aware of what Internet Computer is trying to achieve. We know that Sam Altman of OpenAI is, right? So if they stay on this technological track of growth and potential massive use cases, this puts Internet Computer in a very unique position, because people think that it can't reach its all-time record high, which was basically $800 when it was being manipulated, when Solana was pumping. Solana was pumping because of manipulation in the market. Internet Computer dumped because of manipulation in the market. Now we're in a new cycle, and Solana has brought us meme coins. No on-chain AI, no on-chain hosting of dApps, no app store, no interest from any AI capable or integrated companies. Internet Computer has that. And where is the narrative of technology going in the AI world? And Internet Computer is the only one that can do that. And so when we think about the market caps, and when we think about the supply of the coins and the valuation of these chains, I want you guys to understand the market cap of Internet Computer is $2.5 billion. Okay, $2.5 billion. Solana is 80 billion. So if we divide that, right, 80 divided by 2.5, that means Solana is 32 times the valuation of Internet Computer and has a fraction of the capabilities of Internet Computer from a technological standpoint. And so when you're looking at fundamentals, Internet Computer is way undervalued. And so if we do see a compression in the Bitcoin price and potentially even Ethereum, and these new coins getting a lot more investment, more use cases, more technological integrations, because keep in mind, the newer chains have an upper hand on the legacy chains for many different reasons. One of the main reasons is just because they're a newer chain, so they were able to deploy with all the capabilities that the legacy chains are trying to achieve. And so this puts legacy chains way in a less good position, I guess you could say, because at the end of the day, if a legacy chain is behind, once a new chain comes out, it's way behind. And Internet Computer seems to be ahead. So if you see the compression in the major coins from a market cap perspective, and that value drains from Solana, from Ethereum, from Bitcoin, what do you think it's going to drain? It's going to drain into future capabilities, future technologies, future narratives, and it's all around AI right now. And so there is a very high potential that at some point in the future, we will see a flippening of Internet Computer flipping Solana and potentially even flipping Bitcoin. I don't know permanently, but I think at least temporarily during one of these major rotations in the market, it is very, very high possibility that's going to happen. Because Wall Street is not looking at market cap anymore. They're not looking at market cap because there's coins in these very high market cap in the top 15, top 20 that have no technologies, that have no integration, no interest, no use cases, nothing. They'll tell you they do. Their community of bots will tell you they do, but the metrics show you they don't. And Wall Street's lack of interest in them show you they don't. So it doesn't matter what the bots are saying in the comments or what they're saying on social media. At the end of the day, the bots are not Wall Street. They're not BlackRock. They're not, these companies that are looking to integrate very high-level technologies. And so if they didn't have interest last year, or the year before that, or the year before that, why are they going to have interest now, especially if these chains are way behind? That is a question that you guys need to ask as we are entering the final phases of the bull market. A lot of people are going to disagree with that, but the data shows what the data shows. And I'm going with the data versus how you feel about where the market's going. Because at the end of the day, how you feel is not going to make any impact on a portfolio or on you taking profits or on any of that. It's just going to make you feel good right now. And then in a few months, you're going to say, damn, the Cryptoviser was right. And then you're going to come back, you're going to resubscribe, you're going to write in the comments, Cryptoviser, you were right. I should have listened. Now all of my assets are down to nothing. Listen, guys, I'm not saying the market's going to crash completely. I don't think it will ever do that, because there's going to be, as much as we have more Wall Street coming in, you're also going to have more buyers coming in, right? But you also have more sellers on the other end of that. You always have to remember, just because you bought at $100,000, somebody bought at $100, and they don't give a shit that you want Bitcoin to go to $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000. They're going to take that profit, wait till Bitcoin drops back down, and then rebuy it back for a much cheaper price and still have their profits. So there's two things that you can do in the market. Actually, three things. You could buy, you could sell, or you can hold. But at some point, there's going to be a bull market, there's going to be a bear market, and there's going to be sideways trading. Typically, if you're going up on a roller coaster and then you start to kind of even out and you're not going higher anymore, and the train car, the roller coaster car starts going over the edge, what is the direction you're going to go after that? Clearly down, right? And not just down, but down very fast, right? And then once you hit the bottom, then you scoop up a little bit, but you won't hit the previous high just from the momentum of dropping. And so that's where people get caught up in the hype. They're like, oh, we hit the bottom, now we're going back up. And it's like, it took us years to get to that top, and you think it's going to take one day to hit the bottom? No. And all I see on the chart, the price chart, is quadruple top, double top at the beginning of the year, double top now. That is a signal, right? When you look at the Bitcoin halving tracker, we are literally approaching the time frame for the highs in the previous two cycles. And these tops, they look very similar. The quadruple top from last cycle, quadruple top right now. So you can look at this and say, you know what, Cryptoviser, we're going to $1 million this cycle. And listen, I'm rooting for you. I'm definitely rooting for you. But I don't think that we're going to hit that. We're closer to 50,000 than we are 1 million. But people are convinced we're going to hit 1 million first. With that, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. That way you never miss a new video. Thanks to all of our channel members. Thank you so much for your support. It's only $1.99 a month if you want to become a channel member. Click the join button down below to learn more about becoming a channel member. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is Internet Computer going to flip Solana? And is Solana going to flip Bitcoin? Because if it flips Bitcoin and Internet Computer flips Solana, guess which coin is now number one? Internet Computer. See you guys in the next video. Crypto on.